all right. Mike, how you doing today?
I'm good, Brad. How are you doing today?
Well, clearly, I'm at least sounding better than I was a week ago now.
Yes, that
No,
sounds
what? Half a week.
Half a week.
Half a week. Half a week. Yeah. So, I mean, at this point, I'm calling that a win. But hey,
I mean,
take what you can get.
yeah. I
don't have monkeypox, so I'm thinking that's decent.
so we can say monkeypox, but we can't say.
So
the other
so
one?
far, yes. The Google overlords have not banned that one.
I hate this world. I need Elon to buy Facebook then.
Really? You think that overblown? Never mind. We're not going political. With that.
You good?
Seriously, Elon? Of all the guys you could want to be sitting in their lap for, Elon's the guy? Really?
There's things that there are things that I like about him. There are things I don't like about him. Obviously, just like everybody that's a political or public figure that you want to call.
Okay, well.
I like the fact that he's basically just giving a giant middle finger to anybody that's involved in the Twitter board. That makes me very happy.
I mean, I feel like he's just doing what everybody on Twitter's been doing to the Twitter board for years.
Yeah, I mean, he's just actually doing something that's going to stick.
Speaking of sticking,
yes, very much so.
Guys,
wait, where does that go?
You'll see.
Do I want to?
Oh, you know. With that, guys, hi. We're back. Actually, back. Not just. Oh yeah. We're actually gonna be on time today.
In theory.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us. As always, I'm Brad. That's Mike. We're Dallas Geek. And we are back for our now second live show since the end of the hiatus.
Do I have to cover the label when I drink from this?
I mean, if we could actually get sponsorship money from them, I'm not gonna turn it down.
Oh, well then in that case it's delicious. And it quenches my thirst.
But yes, in case you have not heard before, we're going to go ahead and try to get this out very quickly at the top.
Yes.
Do not forget to please, if you are a returning viewer and have not already done this, like and follow us over on Facebook.
Holy shit, when did we get that?
Times, places, reasons, things.
We have a budget now?
Wibbly wobbly timey wimey, don't ask about it. And of course, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell over on YouTube.
Get it off me! Get it off me!
That way, the Google overlords will know that you definitely want to be able to know when we go live or post something new, which of course is going to be a thing much more coming up here in 2 weeks. 2 weeks, yes, because there's a certain expo for fans that is happening here in Dallas.
Maybe for the year 2022.
Yeah. Might have some people and some stuff there, and a few celebrities. I don't know. Maybe they've been in a thing or two that you've seen.
We are going to that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't worry.
Okay. Just making sure I've slept.
Anyway, but yes, no, definitely do not forget to check us out at all the places with all the things.
Yes.
And yeah, speaking of the things that they could actually see or hear from us, Mike, what are we talking about today?
Well, I don't know if we should say that it was from us, because I think it was from Vanity Fair.
I mean, Vanity Fair steals enough stuff from other places and people, so why not?
That's actually a really good point. So we, Brad,
or at least their lead editor does.
That was actually very well played. So we are talking about, very recently, I think about a week, maybe 2 weeks ago, Kathleen Kennedy had an op-ed in Vanity Fair.
Interview.
It was
a Q&A interview.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, let's not act,
That's right,
unlike Vanity Fair, let's not discredit the actual author of this piece. The, who, in fairness, the author, just so that we can get this out of the way, at the top, Anthony, oh, I'm gonna butcher the hell out of this. Anthony Bresnikan, sure.
That's what I'm going to go with.
I desperately hope that we are getting that one right.
Sorry if we didn't.
Vanity Fair's senior Hollywood correspondent.
Yeah, but so basically
he actually did a really good job.
Yeah.
I'm not going to knock any of his work because his questions were actually very well played.
And he didn't really let her skate on some stuff. He kind of pushed. Yeah. He kind of pushed her a little bit.
I mean, he led a little bit with a couple of his questions, but for the most part, I think he really pushed in some of the areas that fans have been hoping somebody would push. And this is coming from two guys who we actually are not a part of the Kathleen Kennedy hate crowd. We actually like what she does and think that she has a purpose within the Lucasfilm side of Disney.
I think Kathleen's a really good business person. I don't think she should be allowed anywhere near creativity or imagination.
I mean, that's what George brought her in originally as.
Right.
He brought her in as a producer.
Yeah.
And brought her in to learn the business of Lucasfilm. And because if you liked all the book deals and the comic deals and the game deals that Lucasfilm and LucasArts were responsible for, if you liked anything about Star Wars since the end of Return of the Jedi, up until the time that Disney bought it, you have Kathleen Kennedy to thank for that.
Conversely, however,
when
what
Disney
we're
took
talking
over,
about today,
when Disney took over, they brought her in and made her more than just a producer, and because I don't know, maybe they weren't really thinking they needed a creative head. Maybe they thought that
she could be the creative head, which
look, George, as great as he was at creating the universe that he did, George Lucas was terrible at the business of Star Wars. And that's kind of true for most of the great names that you know from Hollywood. Very few are good at both the business and the creativity of the business of movie making.
Yeah.
Or
That's
world
fair.
building,
Yeah.
or whatever. You don't see that very often. There's a reason why actors and writers have agents.
No. But in this article, she talked about the past, present, and future of Star Wars is kind of what it was. And the Star Wars Forever and how Disney plans for it to just continue to go and go and go. Which I think makes sense. It's a property that they own. Why wouldn't you want generation after generation after generation to experience it?
Yeah.
I just worry that maybe that past part is going to be... What's the term that I'm wanting to use here, Brad?
The thing that a lot of the media outlets who have commented on Kathleen's interview have gotten wrong in their interpretation of what she actually said, for the sake of clickbait, is that Kathleen's not dumb, okay? She's not necessarily ignorant of what fans are asking for, but she is highly overly nostalgic for the original properties that she was personally a part of creating.
Yeah.
And I can understand that, because since George brought her in so early on in the development of the franchise, and of course her big claim to fame, the Indiana Jones franchise, they are her babies.
All three of those movies, right? All three Indiana Joneses?
Yeah. They
no
are
more, right? Just three?
There was more than three?
Okay, just making sure.
I mean, there was the whole young Indiana Jones.
Oh, that's true.
I mean,
that's fair.
I mean, that one pushed the bounds of 3D animation pretty well.
That's true.
Yeah. But, which, speaking of casting, which we'll be getting into here in a second.
That's actually a really good point.
So, what was very obvious from the things that Kathleen said is that she considers what was done with Star Wars and Indiana Jones to be her babies because she helped to create them.
Yeah.
And from people in the creative industry, we understand that. We appreciate that if you are part of creating something so special, even if you're not the one who actually created it, but if you helped, that means something to you.
And you can't say that she wasn't a huge part of making Star Wars,
but
like getting it to the point where Lucas sold it for more than Marvel.
But to kind of stop dancing around the topic here,
I want to point that out again. Star Wars sold for more than Marvel. Don't forget that. Star
Wars sold for more than I think any other franchise ever still, because I mean anything else that's been sold at a comparable amount has been a studio purchase.
Yep, exactly.
Which, I mean, technically Star Wars came with the studio, but not in the same way.
Now if Disney can just buy Sony.
So, to stop dancing around the issue here,
yes.
Well, to go straight to the source, Kathleen, in her interview, okay, here we go. So, comes in and we had the question that was brought up that was, you've mentioned a couple times that Star Wars is one unified story. That's immense pressure. If Warner Brothers makes a Batman film that doesn't work, they can reboot and do a different Batman film. But I don't think you can really say that the Obi-Wan series we made doesn't count. And Kathleen responds with, we also can't do something with Luke Skywalker that isn't Mark Hamill. We're not going to suddenly try to do that. The beauty of Obi-Wan Kenobi is Ewan McGregor desperately wanted to do this. He has been so engaged in the entire process, and our excitement and reason for doing this is that the real Obi-Wan wanted to tell the story. And then
that's a little question, bit. I kind of find that funny because he was playing a character that was originally portrayed by somebody else.
Yeah, and then the to jump ahead to the next question was, I don't want to put you in an awkward spot, but was this an understanding you've come to that was developed from Solo? I don't want to trash Alden Edger.
I think it's Aaron Reich.
Aaron Reich.
I think if I remember right.
Okay. Alden Ehrenreich. I think he did a good job.
Which I agree.
So do I. But the idea that you can't really replace Luke Skywalker, was that something you learned from that movie? Or how would you put it? And her response was, maybe. As you say it, Anthony, maybe. I think back in Solo was one of the first ideas that came up when the company was sold. One of the first people I went to was Larry Kasdan. Larry and I have known each other forever. He was so excited to tell that story. We genuinely believed at the time it was a good idea. So yeah, there should be moments along the way when you learn things. That may have certainly been a learning moment. And so what you end up coming back to with this whole interview, and it's a big point here, is that Kathleen is very nostalgic for the original actors for the movies, which there's nothing wrong with that. The problem is she is so nostalgic for it that she personally cannot see somebody else portraying one of the original characters. And she thinks that, as she continues on in the interview, that it's important to not focus so much on continuing to build on what George created, but moving away from the Skywalker storyline and the original trilogy and do something new and unique with Star Wars that only Star Wars can do without having to rely on George's stories.
Right.
Which in turn means not recasting legacy characters with new actors, but just going for entirely new characters to begin with.
Which I have a problem with that because James Bond is one of the most recognized characters in cinema and in literature.
Yeah.
And how many different actors have portrayed him? and they've each brought something new to the table, and they've each put their own staple on that character.
Don't forget Doctor Who. The Doctor now has...
Well, that's a little different because they actually have a in-story reason for why you can...
Well, even still, though, that was not necessarily the original intent.
That's fair.
But now you are at a point where we have had 15, about to be 16 different actors portray the Doctor. Yeah. And... No, sorry, 17, because there was the movie about the making of Doctor Who that brought in, what's his name, that played Filch from Harry Potter, to play the original actor from the first Doctor. And then, because there was such high reception of his performance, because the man's a spitting image of the original, they came in and for the Christmas special to lead into the introduction of Jodie Whittaker as the current Doctor, they brought in same actor to play the first Doctor. So they've had now about to be 15 different actors, 16, sorry, because 2 for the first, 14 in canon, 15, about to be 16 when the new one comes in. So 16 different actors have played the same character.
No. And look,
and no, people have loved it.
And I understand having that certain feel, like, look, to me, Kevin Conroy is my Batman. Right?
Oh, sure.
Like, to me, Chris Evans was a perfect choice to play a live action Steve Rogers. Does that mean then that, 10, 15 years from now when they decide to reboot these characters and maybe do something in some other form or medium, that we can't do it because those actors have moved on, or maybe even something like passed on? But then does that mean that we just stop doing stuff with these characters altogether? That's the one thing that, like, you're pigeonholing yourself so hard by coming out with this stance. To me, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Like, so when Disney bought Star Wars, we had the understanding that the expanded universe, or the legacy universe, or whatever you nerds call it.
Expanded universe?
Yeah.
The EU.
Yeah, EU, thank you. The European Union, which, we'll see how well that's going. Sorry, was that out loud?
No politics.
That's right, no politics, sorry. So the expanded universe was essentially wiped out when Disney bought it, and they said, hey, we're starting new, and we're going to tell new stories and this and that. And rightfully so, the people that put time and invested into the expanded universe were pissed.
Sure.
But now that you've wiped all of that history out, you have about 40 to 50 years, if my timeline's right. It could be
40, I believe.
Yeah.
We'll double check.
Of storytelling that no longer is there. And you already said that your mainline stories are of the Skywalker family.
Mm-hmm.
So you have 40 years of history of this one family, from the original trilogy to the Disney trilogy.
Yeah.
That's now just gone. What are you supposed to do with that? You can't go back and do movies or TV shows if you're not going to have Mark Hamill playing Luke Skywalker, right? According to what Kathleen has said. You can't have anything to do with Princess Leia because Carrie Fisher's gone.
Yeah.
So now you're completely and totally wiping out 40 years of storytelling that you could do just because you have a nostalgia trip for not wanting to see other actors portray characters. Which makes less than 0 sense to me. Because in Obi-Wan, you have a 10-year-old Princess Leia running around with Obi-Wan. So there's still plenty of stories to tell.
Yeah.
There's still plenty of history to go through with that family. But you're basically just laying the groundwork that you can't.
Yeah, and especially when you already have evidence that...
Actually, go back really quick. No, David, you're wrong. It is not a code name. That is his actual name.
Get back on track. So, when you already had Harrison Ford sign off on Alden being the new Han Solo.
And Lawrence Kasdan wrote it.
You had Billy D. Williams sign off on
Childish Gambino.
Yeah, I know he has an actual name.
Donald Glover.
There you go.
He's Childish Gambino.
Yeah, I always first thing that comes to mind is Childish Gambino. But yeah, Billy D. Williams signed off with on Donald Glover being Lando, and Mark Hamill has already repeatedly said that he would love to see what a younger actor could do with the character of Luke, and see where those stories could go. So you already have the original actors signing off on the idea of somebody else taking over their roles.
Yeah.
That's so the overly nostalgic thing that Kathleen has going on feels like it's just a her thing. Well, her and Disney, because Disney is also coming back and saying that, well, the lackluster reception of Solo is proof that nobody wants to see the original characters get recast. The lackluster reception of just all these different parts and pieces of this character or that character or whatever, it's all coming in and it's being misinterpreted. And I don't know if this is an intentional thing by the studio to create the excuse for why they don't want to touch those stories, because in fairness, the fandom can be toxic as hell. And nobody really wants to be the first one to start telling stories that are going to be directly replacing the stories that got retconned out of existence.
Right. Well, but you can't go back and undo the retconning.
No.
Because of the story that you told in the new trilogy, it basically completely destroys everything that came before it.
So yeah, I understand why you're going to have a hard time finding anybody that wants to be the first one to be that guy that starts to replace the old stories. I mean, technically you could already say this somewhat happened with Rebels, with the sequel series trilogy, with whatever. But Rebels even showed that you could tell a story that exists in that timeline with new characters, and people are receptive to it. Yeah,
people want to see stories with new characters that are happening in this this era and this time. But you're basically completely erasing the ability to go and tell additional stories of the main characters.
Yeah.
Which I understand wanting to go. It's a big galaxy. I get it. You want to tell new stories. You want to introduce new characters. I mean, even on the comic and actual, actual book side, with the High Republic, they're doing. Like I said, I haven't read any of it. You've said it's pretty good. Our friend,
I thoroughly enjoy it.
Our buddy David has said it's pretty good. There's a lot of good characters in there. But I mean, they even actively went what I think was 300 years before the prequel trilogy, if I remember right. 200,
yeah.
And so they're still actively dancing around this timetable, or not this timetable, but they're dancing around this era in time. Which, if you want to show what else is going on in the galaxy, all for it, completely and totally understand.
We got Timothy back in the comments pointing out very much so. Which, by the way, good to see you back in the comments, Timothy.
I mean, that is true. Yeah. I mean, it did
coming out, releasing Solo at the same time as Avengers: Infinity War,
which was at that point, I think, a 9-year build.
Yeah. You were already going to be having trouble because that's a harsh level of competition to be trying to go up against, but it's the same studio.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
Disney put out 2 competing movies at the same time that were both supposed to have been major events, but they didn't advertise Solo nearly as much as they did Infinity War. They didn't give enough build-up to Solo in books, comics, or any other media in order to build anticipation by the fans, other than just acknowledging that this is a movie that's going to come out and here are some trailers for it. And then they were surprised that it didn't get big box office numbers like they were hoping for. Which, by the way, if you go back and look at the box office numbers of Solo, it still did better than what most movies could hope for.
And I just looked it up. Here's the other thing that doesn't make sense to me, to releasing it a week after.
Yeah.
Aquaman, Bumblebee, Mary Poppins Returns, Bohemian Rhapsody, 50 Shades Freed, Into the Spider-Verse, Maze Runner 3 were the December movies that year.
Yeah.
Why not just release it in December like you were doing with the mainline movies?
Because that uses common sense. Or, and this is the other part, and we're going to have to go very, very quick because we are running low on time.
And we have said moving forward we are going to put ourselves on a shot clock. So
yeah. There is one other conspiracy theory that we partially adhere to because
Do I need to get my tinfoil hat?
the mouse has plans that we all know about because it's not like they've hidden it.
He could be listening. Just be careful how you proceed.
So we know that Disney has already CGI'd and deep faked actors, either dead or unavailable, into movies. They CGI and deep faked Peter Cushing into Rogue One
and
Carrie Fisher, both to varying degrees of success of quality. I still go back and look at that, and I look at Peter Cushing's attempt there, and I still feel like I'm looking at a very odd marionette puppet.
Looked like something right off the set of Team America.
Actually, exactly like. And then in The Mandalorian, quick spoiler warning in case you're not caught up on The Mandalorian Season 2, they brought in a CGI'd young Luke Skywalker. And
that scene was so dope, though.
It was. But they went in, yes, they actually used the audio from a fresh recording from Mark Hamill, but it was a fully deep...
Who recorded it a year beforehand.
Yeah, it was
basically had to keep it a secret.
It was a fully deep-faked young Mark Hamill.
Yep. Basically, somebody did the actual acting, and then they just CGI'd his face and digitally put his voice over it.
Yeah.
But there was an actor on set, which why not just use an actor that looks like Mark Hamill?
And here's the really frustrating part. There is an industry that is coming up in Hollywood around the likeness. It's been an industry for a while around the likeness and managing the likeness of dead celebrities. That industry is currently evolving into the likeness, licensing the likeness for the use of digital reproduction, i.e. deepfakes. And we know this because it's already come up with Marilyn Monroe, and it is getting ready to possibly be a legitimate thing with an entirely brand new movie, I believe it was World War II or Vietnam movie starring James Dean, that James Dean never filmed, but they're deep faking him in. And it's reusing, I believe it was reusing old dialogue of his to be able to work. And it's becoming a thing that Disney has enough of a library of their various actors from old properties that they could potentially want to reuse. And because it's already been proven that in order to be able to create the deep faked Luke Skywalker, Disney was legally able to go in and get reference images from thousands, or I think it was almost hundreds of thousands of images that were scoured and pulled off of Google without proper licensing or credit, because legally there was nothing saying they couldn't. And we are now at a point where Disney, having such high quality archives of all their actors, could be trying to find excuses like Solo to start to find ways to legitimize just deep faking actors into movies that they either can't or don't want to be part of, and just keep making bank on them because legally nothing says they can't.
Just really creepy when you think about it.
Oh, incredibly.
That's literally all I have to add to that.
Now,
I feel like I need to take a shower after hearing that, if it actually happens.
We fully recognize that this is only somewhat of a conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
The somewhat being that Disney...
They've already done it!
Well, the somewhat being that Disney is using the Solo excuse to legitimize their attempt to do it.
Yeah.
That's the conspiracy. The technology and where Hollywood is going, and whether or not the mouse is actively trying to make that part of their active business model.
Yep.
We're not going to say they're not doing that, but at the same time, so
we'll leave it there.
Yeah. There are a lot of ethical issues and a lot of potential problems that are arising with this that we will absolutely be diving into at a later date.
Yep.
For now, we're just going to go ahead and leave this little terrifying nightmare fuel just sitting here and let you guys ruminate on it, because we would really rather not give ourselves issues for
later.
later.
Share your conspiracy theories in the comments below.
Actually, that's a really good idea, because you guys have already proven that y'all can come up with some better conspiracy theories that are just as legit, all on your own.
Just nothing that'll get us flagged by the FBI, CIA, Homeland Security, or Disney.
Please.
Yeah.
And that last one's very important.
Yeah. I mean, I have no problem with the CIA showing up. I mean, it's going to be the first time.
But the mouse. The mouse is the one that you don't want to be... having him sin goofy, asking where his mother chucking money is.
Yeah. Dude, the number... There you go. That was pretty funny.
No,
I mean, stole it, but...
Yeah, stole it, but I mean, stole it from a great source.
Yeah. I mean, the number of times that I've talked to a government agent that later would probably deny their own existence. I don't... If I had a nickel, man, that's all I'm going to say.
But, guys, with that, yes, we have finished diving into down our little conspiracy rabbit hole.
Yep.
So yes, please tell us in the comments, what do you think? Do you think that Disney and Kathleen Kennedy are being overly nostalgic about how they view the original legacy characters from Star Wars, and that recasting with younger actors shouldn't be such a taboo topic? Do you think that the conspiracy theory is real and that they really are just trying to find ways to legitimize the deep faking of actors against their will? Or do you have an entirely different idea that you would love to share with us? Please, any and all, tell us down in the comments below. We cannot wait to hear from you, and we will absolutely be reading every one of them, for better or worse.
Yeah.
So, Mike, final thoughts?
Just don't ask us to join any militias.
I mean, I think they're...
That's the only thing. I'm already part of too many. I mean...
With that, guys, thank you so much for joining us today. As always, if you have not already, please be sure to like and follow us over on Facebook. Share with your friends.
Always share.
Yeah.
Always share.
Do not forget to like and subscribe over on YouTube. Don't forget to hit the notification bell, because our Google overlords are not always great about telling you when we post a new live video or just a video in general.
Sons of bitches.
So you got to hit that bell.
Was that too real?
No, it's Google.
Okay.
It's accurate.
Yeah.
So you got to hit that bell if you really want to know when we put some new content out there. And of course, do not forget that if you don't have time for our videos, you can always go check out the audio from our live shows, interviews, and all the other weird things that we do over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and now apparently Facebook podcast, which is a mobile app exclusive.
Which makes so much sense.
I'm not going to argue with it. I'm just saying it exists, and technically we are there.
And just a little bit of a tease, but you might be able to.
Speaking of where we are, or going to be.
Yeah, we might be on some other platforms here pretty quick.
Yes.
So
yes.
Just be ready for that.
Yes, and of course, do not forget, we will be at Fan Expo Dallas coming up here in 2 weeks, and of course, that is going to be a very, very fun event that we are looking forward to. There are going to be some amazing guests, and hey, we might get lucky to be able to get some awesome interviews this time around. Maybe not, you never know, but can't hurt to ask.
Never.
And of course, we're definitely going to be bringing you some of the best live and behind the scenes content to bring the convention to you at home, just in case you can't make it out yourself.
Absolutely.
So with that, as always, I'm Brad. That's Mike. We're Dallas Geek. And until next time, see ya.
Hit the button. My arm's tired.